Hi, my name is Katie Marie. Let's start this meeting with the Thursday prayer. God, I offer myself to Thee to build with me and to do with me as Thou wilt. Relieve me of the bondage of self, that I may better do Thy will. Take away my difficulties, that victory over them may bear witness to those I would help of Thy power, Thy love, and Thy way of life. May I do Thy will always. Amen. Okay, so everybody see, I got my hair braided and it didn't turn out really that good, so I'm getting ready to get braided again because I have a big B-Day barbecue birthday bash coming up, and I want to look good and all that stuff. So I just want to let you guys know that's the dealio with the hair thing. But either way, let me adjust my camera here, get a better look. This is the TLMS Step 9, taken from the 12 Steps and 12 Traditions of Alcoholics Anonymous. Step 9, made direct amends wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. Let me repeat that because I did make a mistake. You guys need to hear this stuff verbatim. Step 9, made direct amends wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. So we did a step 8 last week. This week we're doing step 9. We're preparing to make amends. There are some things that you will need in your tool bag when taking this step. The first thing, these tools are good judgment, careful sense of timing, courage, and prudence. With this in mind, let's consider the categories in which to divide your 8th step amends list. Remember last week when we made our amends list? This is all we did. It's all we did was make a list. We had our paper divided into two, the length of the paper. One side, I'll show you, was the name of the person, place, or institution. Okay. And on the other side is what happened or where it says, what did you do? Okay. So the first, we're going to talk about it. I'm going to show you it again. Now, with that in mind, having divided your paper down the middle, you already made the list. You did the who and what happened, right? What you did to them. Now, divide your paper into groups. The first group will be those amends you must make right away. Only if you can handle it. Being careful not to trigger a psychotic episode or a relapse. Okay? Next, there will be those to whom you must make partial amends to. Less saying or doing too much will injure them or yourself or even others. So that's going to be the second part is going to be your partial amends. Okay? The third section will be some amends that will be deferred or put off. So, for example, I have student loans to pay off. Yes, I have recently set up an account with the Department of Education. I recently did that. I literally recently did this. Okay, like maybe a month ago. And I've been out of school for years, so trust me. Many outside vendors call for solicitation, talking about you want to set up payment, make payment arrangements, or defer your whatever it was whatever it is their thing is. However, I only want to deal with the Department of Education. Now, it is very difficult to set up payment arrangements if you have absolutely no money to pay. So there's no sense in me calling and saying, yes, I promise to pay $75 a month for the next 5 years when I don't even have $75 a month to spare. I'm still trying to figure out where I'm going to get that from. But my plan is just to go on and pay them off when I get the money, and I will be getting it in a couple of years. So I'm just going to pay them off. Okay, I know I will one day pay it off, so I'll wait for that day before I call to set up payments. I'm not going to call and make a promise to somebody. This is what they're talking about Don't say you're going to do something because you want to. You have to say you're going to do something because you can. So there's a difference. That's why we defer or put off some amends. The last one, there will be amends that you just won't be able to make directly. So that's going to be the last part. Let me just show you the whole list so you can kind of write it. Last part, you may not be able to make direct amends because the person is deceased. Okay, so those amends usually lie in the case of those who have passed on. You can choose to pay your amends forward. Okay, that's what I call it because whatever you did to this deceased person, you can just not do again for the next person. So if you're trying to make amends and you can't do it directly, you ever heard of the saying pay it forward? You can actually pay your amends forward. So if you're used to robbing and stealing from people, maybe you could just not do that. And instead of feeling like you need to go make amends to the store owner, say they were family friends or something, you want to go make amends and say, look, man, that was me that robbed you that day. And they're gone. You can just don't rob no more. Don't rob any more stores. You see what I'm saying? You got to change your behavior. So that's where that comes in. That's an amends that you can make, and it goes a long way. It's called paying it forward with your amends. Okay, so that's what I would do. Just some of the things that you just don't do it anymore. Okay, so good judgment. How to use this tool of good judgment? Well, let's start by saying what not to do. If you're at a dinner party with the family, this may not be the right time while everybody sits together enjoying a good meal. Would you propose a toast and give your amends speech then? Yes, maybe it would be if you owed the same amends to everybody at the table, but probably not the best way to tell your brother in law that you slept with his cousin. After all, this will injure him, yourself, and his cousin. So you just don't get up and be like, look, I just want to let everybody know I'm so sorry. Cousin Joey, I just want to say, yes, I did sleep with your cousin, and I'm so sorry. Everybody don't need to know that. You know what I mean? Everybody sitting at the table like, well, geez. This is really interesting, it's a lot of gossip gets started. He says, she said. It's really not prudent. Okay. So you don't want to just blab out. So that's not using good judgment. Okay. And it would probably embarrass them too. So you don't want to do that. You're going to have a careful sense of timing. If you are at a funeral for your spouse's mother, it might not be the best time to tell them that you've been padding the household's expense account for the last 5 years to support your gambling habit. Your spouse is already heartbroken from losing a loved one. This will only cause them more harm than good. Best consider a time while discussing your finances to bring it up then. Even at this time, you may have to endure a lecture or an outrage. People do have the right to be upset. After all, you did pad the household expense account. Now, how am I going to pay the light bill? You will need to consider this and perhaps have a solution to pay it back prior to bringing it up. So don't just go and be like, hey, look, I know we talking about paying bills and stuff. Look, the reason why we don't have that $500 there anymore is because I used it for the last 3 weeks. I've been pinching off it to pay for my gambling habit. And now I know it's gone, but I promise I'll pay it back. How? Okay, so that's when you need to have a plan. Look, I got 250 now. I've been saving up. I'm gonna give this and put it back in there, and every week I'm gonna put $50 toward that, and I'm not gonna take nothing out of it. Okay, so that's how you got to do that. Okay, you have to set up some type of arrangement to pay or to make the amends. So you have to be willing to accept the consequences of making an amends. Yes, there are consequences. We'll talk about that right now. You'll have to have courage. Don't let the need for this tool frighten you. You will need courage. It will take any amount of courage to face the music and any given amount of more courage to endure the lectures and the outrage. In this case, as defined in the dictionary, courage is the strength in the face of pain or grief. Courage is what will get you started making the amends and keep you strong so that you can finish making your amends. This takes us to the final tool, what you should have in your toolbox or tool bag. I carry a bag. Prudence. Prudence. This probably sums up all of your tools for step 9. Prudence is to exercise caution. You'll want to be careful with what you say. Although you may be trying to right your wrongs, you may say something that will hurt the other person's feelings. Saying the wrong words might get somebody that you really care about into deep trouble, either with mama or with the law. Quite a similar outcome if you say something about yourself that may get you locked up. Prudence is very important. Okay. This is why you should have a sponsor of some sort or a best friend, somebody who you could really carry your issues to and talk about. You know, how we talked about in steps 4, 5, and 6. Have somebody you can really sit down and talk to. So I'm going to talk to you, Mama, about this situation with my sister, because she's such this and that, and I helped her, and I just don't know what to do, Mama, because we'll both get locked up if I go. And okay, honey, let me tell you know, Mama might be able to help you out of the situation, but more so, you got clergymen, lawyers, all the other stuff. Remember your professional help. That takes a lot of good help, because professional help will let you know professionally what you can and can't do. Okay, so make sure remember the second and third step, professional help. Get you some help. It can be professional help. Okay? Yes, we pray, but we get professional help. The most important thing to remember with all of these tools, there will be consequences. There will be good consequences and there will be bad consequences. I once took a loan to purchase a car from one of my employers. At a certain time, I felt confident in my recovery to start paying him back. When I confronted him about it, he said that all he wanted was to see me get well. I made sure that those were his true wishes. In other words, I'd say, oh, okay, and walk away. I'm like, are you sure now? Because, I can pay you back. I'm willing to give you $300 every paycheck. You see what I'm saying? I was willing to do that, and I could do that. Okay? But he said no. God rest his soul that he is no longer with us. And now I'm sure he can see me from heaven. I love you, Tim Pullen, and I never forget all that you've done for me. I'm going to cut this a little short today because that's kind of struck a chord for me. But it's true. I was able to talk to him before he passed on. And I didn't know he was going to pass on. This was years before he passed on. I confronted him about paying him back, and I'm glad I did. We'll end it right there. How about that? Thanks for listening. Next week, step 10. And don't forget to visit tlmsinc.org. Ciao.